Hey everyone, you're tuning in to The Reckless Pursuit, and today we're answering this question.
Why does it matter?
Hey everyone, my name is Cody.
And my name is Elaine.
And you're tuning in to The Reckless Pursuit. And we're answering this simple little question of why does it matter? And I know what's going through your head right now. Why does what matter? Exactly. Everything, anything, all the things, nothing. Does it matter at all? Is our purpose on this earth even a purpose? Or is it everything? Is it nothing? That's what we're going to try to answer. So we're setting ourselves up for something pretty fun here. And I'm just going to let Elaine open up with why we're having this conversation. And then I think I'm going to go into sharing a little bit about what I want to share to lay the groundwork for this question. So go for it.
So you asked me if I had anything on my heart and mind. And I think half regarding the podcast, but also just in general. And spiritually, there's nothing really pressing or really anything that I'm like, okay, well, God is like leading me to this topic, or like I really feel on my heart. It's not anything like that, but on a broad scope or narrow scope, however you want to view this, really the question that I've been asking myself every day, if not every week, is why does it matter? Why do I matter? Why does my business matter? Why does this podcast matter? Why does my faith matter? Why does having strong relationships matter? Why does having strong community matter? And who does it matter to? And what is my purpose in life? And do I have to have a purpose? Can I have multiple purposes? And it's just kind of all wrapped up in one. Is like, why does any of this matter?
I'm glad you're making life simple for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd hate for you to have an existential meltdown
I'm
every
just
second.
so complex.
Yeah, okay. So my first thought to all of this is like talking like me in my own head. Like I am the single most important thing on this earth. And I am of absolute no importance. My wife is the single most important woman on this earth. And yet, does she have a purpose? You know what I mean? Like, to me, like, so all of this is like filtered internally is what I'm trying to get at. And we have to view life as having purpose or having, you know, it has to have some kind, like, it has to matter, right? If it doesn't matter, then that puts us in a very negative headspace to hurt other people. And I feel like that's not good, right? Like anytime you're putting yourself in a position of harming yourself or others, like obviously that matters. And we shouldn't do that. But also within the same confine, like we put too much stress on ourselves of being so important or all of our decisions making so much like sense. And sometimes, you know, and I'll make sure I'm framing this right. The question is, why does it matter, right? So, like, what's the point? And a lot of times, the point is not that big, you know? Why did you choose to wash your car on a Tuesday rather than a Wednesday? Well, everything in your life led up to that moment. That's a big deal. But also, it's just because that's how you felt that day, and it doesn't really have that big of an influence over your life one way or another. You know, a lot of times we get into those existential modes of like, if I would have driven to work 10 minutes earlier, I could have been that person in that wreck. Go ahead.
It reminds me of that Doctor Who episode where she has that beetle on her back and she's like driving in the car and like the beetle like makes all of her decisions for her because she like, they were going back in time and I think it was Donna, but they were like going back in time and either she was supposed to go right and she turned left or the opposite, whatever. But like all of these events were like, because she didn't make one decision. And I feel like sometimes I get in my head because I'm like, if I don't do this one thing, then everything else in the future is going to fail.
So if we're going to talk about time paradoxes, I'm going to go the opposite route of if time is in fact not linear, but subsequently happening all at the same time and we're just experiencing it linear, you can't break that cycle because every choice you make is inadvertently going to create the time that you were intended to have. So
it reminds me of your dream that you had.
Oh yeah. I had a dream where I opened the pits of hell and then I woke up, but I was still dreaming, but I was a child and I was reliving all of the experiences I ever had that led me to that moment so I can make the correct decisions to not do that again.
And why does that matter?
I have no idea. I took an expired Benadryl that night and I was out. But And see, this is the fun of it. You can take it two different ways of like, if I did this, then all of this could have changed. But also, like, if I didn't, like, if I put too much thought into it, like, it doesn't really matter anyway because it's going to play out. We just need to breathe. Let's take this spiritually. A lot of us look, did I go through the right door, the wrong door? Am I going this way? Am I doing this wrong? Calm down. Filter it through love, loving God, loving others. All of this is going to sort out. Is it such a big deal that you had an iced coffee today? Probably not. Like, I don't think that's just life changing. Could you have had an event in your life where you met just this one person that changed your life forever? I think about like meeting Elaine. If I wouldn't have decided to go with my friend to the thing at the college, I would have never met her. My life would have looked completely different. Or would it have? I don't know. I have no way of knowing that. And so while that moment was so important, if I would have overthought that moment, or if I'd have been looking for all of that at that time, it wouldn't have played out this way anyway. And so does it all matter? Absolutely. Everything matters and everything has consequence. And then also we're like specks on a speck floating through an infinite vast void of nothingness with a few other specks and trying to figure out this thing we call God and life and religion and spirituality and existence. And it's a big deal
and all
to
of the
us.
specks before us and all the specks after us.
Like when we watch the ant carry the crumb, like that crumb's a big deal to the ant, and to us, we're just like, I may step on you. Like, it's not, and that's not even comparable to scale of us versus the universe. Like, what I mean? It's just like, oh, when you get into it, it's so wild and beautiful and messy, and we just overthink all of it.
Well, it's like whenever you ask somebody, like if you were to go up to a random stranger or somebody but you went up to somebody on the side of the road and you're like, hey, what is your why? And a lot of people are like, what? They like clam up, even if they know in their head, if they have this like perfectly like curated elevator pitch of like their purpose in life and their business and everything. If you ask them, they're going to be caught off guard. They're going to be like, why? Who are you? Why does it matter if I have a why? Like, what is the purpose of this?
Why
like,
are you doing in my
what
house?
What is your why? Why are you asking me? And I feel like it just, like you said, it can be beautiful, but it's also extremely messy.
It's something beautiful to think about, but not obsess over. It's like admiring art or anything, right? If you obsess over it, it can become unhealthy. But to admire it makes it beautiful. And to admire the why, to be able to go back and say, wow, because I did this and that and this, and it played out so divinely, and this is where I am at. And also, you can look back and say, man, I did this and that, and if I did that, maybe it wouldn't have been like that. But that's not healthy.
Well, and I feel like you can go as deep into it as much as you want to, or feel like it, or feel safe to. Because like if you went to an art gallery and you see this big white canvas with a single blue dot, and somebody's like, wow, this is really deep art, this means like the universe, and look at this, and then other people are like, that's just a dot on a piece of paper. Like, but you have that freedom to choose how deep that goes for you.
And both are correct.
Yes.
They're both right. That's what's so cool about it. Yeah, it's just a blue dot on a white sheet of paper. A giant. When I envision this, I enjoy. Yeah, that too. I envision like this huge canvas that's like, like 8 foot, 9 foot tall by like 5.5, 6 foot wide. That like when you stand against it, you're just silhouetted by it. And there's just like this one tiny little like pinprick, like right in the middle of blue. Okay, maybe like the size of like less than the size of an eraser head, right? And it's like, wow, that, like, to me, the first thing I was like, that's the Earth. Like, wow, that's our galaxy. That's our universe, like, right there in the advanced. Like, we don't even know what's beyond this. Wow, all that. And then also, like, that could have been someone's drop cloth. And they, like, were just, like, opened up a brand new drop cloth. It dropped one blue speck on it. It was like, wow, that inspired them. So they hung it up. And it is just a blue dot on a piece of paper. But also, it's representative of my childhood trauma and every experience known to like life in our universe. And then you could get into dimensions. Wow, look at what's behind it. Behind that blue dot is just more white. Behind that white is just a wall.
Or there's a shadow.
Think of the fibers and what those used to be. Like, you can just take it as far or as shallow as you want.
But you have the freedom and the choice to do that.
It's kind of like how when we ask God for a sign, Like, what does that even mean? What are you looking for? I don't know. I just want a sign. And then you see it and you're like, there it is. There's my sign from God. And I think it's so funny because God's probably up there going, wow, like, I'm very thankful that you saw that shooting star and thought of me. And like, did he send the shooting star? No, but ultimately it's creation. And if that's what sparked God in you and you realized God in that moment, then that was, in essence, a sign from God, even if it wasn't a sign from God, right? Like, yes, it is and it isn't, and it was and it is and it could be and it's not. And that's what's so cool about all this.
Well, and that also reminds me of that little, I forget what it's called, but the thing that you hold and it like reads your mind.
Like a pendulum, basically.
Yeah, like a pendulum or whatever. And so like you either verbally ask the question or like in your head, but you secretly like deep down you already know your answer, so it's
called kinesiology.
Yeah, it's gonna swing whichever direction. And I feel like that
You're
is
talking
very
about this thing right here, for those watching the video. It's
and we've talked about this before a couple years ago, but I almost feel like whenever you're like asking for a sign, you in your head already know deep down
what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And so you're going to find it.
Right. And that's to kind of give a little more broad scoping. Kinesiology is what a lot of people assume is witchcraft, but it's like where if I hold this pendulum by my fingertips and say, like, do I love my wife? It's going to rock back and forth for yes. Do I want to own a chihuahua? It's going to go the other direction for no. And if you're watching this on video, you saw it just happen live. Left to right is my no, back and forward is my yes. Is it witchcraft? No, it's kinesiology. It's called micromotor movements in your fingers, the way our bodies physically respond to absolutes in our lives or things that we desire. And so my fine motor movements know in my head, like whether it's kind of it's subconscious. It's not conscious effort. It's a subconscious effort where whenever I want something or don't want something, it's going to react through my physical being everywhere. Like I can just know. I mean, you can get it. You can see it in people's responses when they see something they don't like, the look on their face, the reaction you get versus something that brings them joy is a completely different reaction. And everyone that's unique, but it's in everyone. And it's the same thing with all of this. Does it matter? Absolutely. Does it matter? Absolutely not. Like, as long as
matters if you want it to matter.
Yeah, as long as you are filtering it through loving God, loving people. That's our criteria. And the rest is open for interpretation, and that's beautiful and unique. And that's what makes us human. So I know we didn't answer anything, but how do you? We want to hear your thoughts, opinions, concerns, questions, platitudes, all of that on this. Find us over at Nomads, a safe community for Christians to ask unsafe questions, or on Instagram at
The Reckless Pursuit, _TRP podcast, and on TikTok it's The Reckless Pursuit.
I wish we could get all those the same.
I know.
But it doesn't work whenever there was a band in the early 2000s that has your name, even if they were just a small band. So we don't get all those usernames, but you can find us wherever. If you Google us, search for us, you know where to find us. Oh, come on.
You can find us on YouTube.
Email us. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Carrier pigeon. We love you guys. Be brave.
Be bold.
And be reckless. We'll talk soon.